Welcome to the Droid Goch. He's Dan.
That's Amy over there, somewhere. In the void again.
I like the blackout. It means I don't have to worry about someone creeping up or something silly.
No, it's just all the fire it is, the smoke damage.
Oh yeah, there's flames coming up from the dragon behind me. Let's jump straight into our headline of the week.
Yep.
Senedd, First Minister.
Done and dusted. All done.
I can't believe they've actually done it this quick.
Well, I can.
We've got two theories running in this house, haven't we?
Yep, we got two. Mine is basically a certain someone who is now, I think he's Prime Minister, I think, told good old Welsh Labour to get someone in quick as possible to shut the bloody thing up and carry on. You got the summer to do it, get it done.
I've got a sneaking suspicion that they had a look round all the senior members of Welsh Labour that were eligible and went, what journalist has dirt on any of you and who's the cleanest? And then poor Leonard Morgan is sitting there going, I'm the only one that hasn't really got that much controversy. I mean, she was it speeding or drink driving? She did one or the other.
One or the other.
Yeah, it was one or the other that she did. But other than that, she is one of the cleanest politicians left in Welsh Labour.
I would love to be there when she stopped with the police. Do you know who I am? I'm a baroness, goddammit.
To be clear, these are just theories that we've got, but yeah, I find it really difficult to believe that Leonard Morgan put her name forward and nobody in Welsh Labour went, yeah, we want a shot at First Minister. This seems really suspicious to me in that sense. And the only thing I can think of is the fact that Martin Shipton and other journalists have got dirt on too many of the other politicians that they knew it was going to turn into an absolute mayhem fest.
So yeah, I like my theory. They just got told to do it. And probably someone else advised the Keir Starmer went, it'll look good, we've got a Sir in Westminster, we've got a Baroness now in Cardiff.
There's a couple of things that make me think that you're right anyway, but I foresee a bit of an issue coming. But let's do that one first. The only main reason why I think you might be right is the fact that for the first time inside the Senedd Labour, definitely in the last 20 years, but I think it's the first time ever they've actually got the First Minister and Deputy First Minister positions filled by Labour. And it's Irranca-Davies. Now, Irranca-Davies has some controversy of his own due to the Arbed scandal. Now, we're not going to go too far into this because Dan and I are planning on doing a special about Arbed because what's happened with them is absolutely diabolical.
It's absolutely shocking.
It's the fact that it's 12 years on
and they still haven't rectified yet.
Yeah. The very quick, short version of this is, for the people that don't know, because to be fair, there's a lot of people out there that don't know about Arbed. The very quick version of this is that Bridgend County Borough Council basically gave a contract to a fellow councillor to go and get damp proofing done in these houses.
And there was insulation as well.
Yeah, damp proofing, insulation.
Make it more environmentally friendly.
Yeah, it was supposed to help with heating costs and stuff like that.
Well, it did work if the environment you wanted was black mould.
Yeah, exactly. You know. They absolutely ruined these people's houses. Yeah. They're absolutely disgusting, the state of them. And you know, some of them own their houses And
they were told they had to fix it themselves because the council didn't own them, so they went.
Yeah, they'd have to
chog on me.
They'd have to fix the houses themselves. The council weren't gonna pay to rectify the work and things, and now people can't sell their houses because they're in such horrible states due to all of this. And there's a lot of people that are suffering health problems on the back end of it and things. The entire story is absolutely diabolical.
Yeah.
Irranca-Davies, though, has been asked to come and help these people and things. And with the exception of one, maybe two letters, has basically joined the rest of Welsh Labour blowing it under the carpet. Now, there is more to it with Senedd have started getting involved and things like that. So, like I said, we're going to do a special covering Arbed, but that's the sort of gists of it that you need to know to understand why Irranca-Davies is a very interesting choice for Deputy First Minister, because, you know, this is going to bite him in the backside very soon because things are amping up with Arbed.
Yeah.
There's petitions going out, you know, there's talks telling people, look, statute of limitations is starting to run out, therefore you need to start lawyering up because this isn't getting done inside the 15-year time scale. You know, it's going to get rough for him before it gets better. So the fact that he's being put in such a prime position, I think the more I'm thinking about it, the more I think you might be right, is the fact that Keir Starmer or someone from top end of Labour went, we want this done and dusted. Just pick one person that you can all get behind and move on.
Yeah.
And Lynette Morgan blatantly said that she was only willing to go for First Minister if she had who as Deputy First Minister. Whether that was her choice or not is another matter. The fact that we've got the first female First Minister in Welsh history is fantastic, and it's great for women power, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, to be fair, with all said and done, with Vaughan, at least we had our first person of colour as well. So compared to Westminster, we're doing a little bit better on the diversity front.
Well,
and the same with Scotland as well. Both of them First Ministers went through a lot of trouble, but they were both Wales and Scotland are like trying to outmatch each other at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. When you consider the fact that we've only had the Senedd, whether it be as an assembly or as a parliament, for 27 years? 25 years?
25, I think.
Yeah, 25 years, I think it is.
Yeah, it'd be 25 because of 1999 it came in, wasn't it?
There we go, 25 years. We've only had it for 25 years, and we've had white males, we've had people of colour, and we've had, or we're about to have, a woman. So, you know, in that sense, we're making strides, considering how small and young we are in that sense. I do wish things had gone better with Vaughan Gething, because I was very excited about the fact that, you know, we've got a First Minister that was a person of colour. The big problem, though, that we had was the fact that he couldn't take constructive criticism.
No.
And that is the big thing, was a lot of what was coming out was constructive criticism, and instead of going, right, okay, hang on a second, let's actually look at this, he played the race card, which immediately got people's backs up.
Or they didn't like me.
Yeah, and
you
it's
know,
like,
stuff like that.
I'm not a fan of Labour, and I'm not a fan of anyone in Labour per se, but I didn't mind him. I didn't have anything against him. He seemed to be fantastic during COVID as a health minister. It was the fact that, you know, he's taken all this money from a dodgy company. Jeremy Miles, who he'd gone up against in the leader race, he'd taken money from the same company but gave it back immediately. once he found out, and the fact that
and especially at the time where he was before Health Minister, Environment Minister, when it was all going down with that company.
He should have known.
He should have known. There was a lot of stuff in there where, yes, it was done all by the book, but it's in conscience. Can you give it? Can I take it?
It's the moral and ethical element of it.
And he just did not see that, and he did not grasp that that's what people were kicking off at.
Yeah.
They didn't care about the 200 grand.
It was the moral and the ethical elements of, you were the Environment Minister when all this was happening. There's still problems with them now today.
Fined again.
There's still problems with them now today because they've been fined yet again. This does not look good. This looks suspicious.
Yeah.
And he wasn't willing to see that. And then with the whole Hannah Blythen thing, I mean, we've covered that enough, so I'm not going to thingy it again. But, the latest stuff that came out of that just proves, because he's finally released the unredacted images, and more came out from Nation Cymru as well, showing them. And, it just shows how weak the evidence was. Just the fact that, yes, okay, it very well likely came from her phone, but that doesn't mean she leaked it.
I mean, if I was him...
And he very, very purposely chose his words in such a way that he may not have said she leaked it, but he certainly made every single person believe that that's what he was saying.
See, I would have just done a full cabinet reshuffle.
Yeah.
And left at that, and it would have been a dead story weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. Or even if you just released the photos straight away, going, look, they've come from her phone. Now, I'm not saying she's the one that leaked them, but something happened where they came from her phone. And that's the basis that I'm making a Leave government. That would have been a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, my way is the easiest way, but...
Yes, it's the easiest way, but what I mean
but
is...
But he went the hardest way of messing up someone's poor life.
He could have ruined her career.
Yeah.
It's yet to be seen whether she can recover it.
Yeah, and these are the things where I look at these type of stuff is, he wasn't great, because he was doing everything in his own little worldview.
Yeah. It's a real shame.
Well, me, I'm not victim blaming, but...
No, he was turning himself into the victim all the time. Which, when you're a politician...
Doesn't work for you, does not look nice.
Nah, it really doesn't.
No.
But the other element of this, though, is... Leonard Morgan sits in the House of Lords.
Yeah. She'd have to miss stuff. Would be a conflict of interest if anything about Westminster giving... more powers to Wales, or something to do with Wales as First Minister.
That's what I was going to say next as well. In terms of fighting for more from Westminster, we need our First Minister front and central. We can't be sending a deputy to fight for more for Wales. Whether that's more devolution powers, or whether that's more money, or anything like that, it needs to be our First Minister that's heading these things. You wouldn't send the intern to go and negotiate with foreign leaders. You send the Prime Minister, and then they've got the negotiators working in the background, but it's the Prime Minister that is front and central.
I sent the toddler into Westminster as well, the same volume.
Well, to be fair, as we're going to see in a little bit now, but yeah, it's got to be the First Minister that goes and represents us in that, when it comes to getting stuff from Westminster. So,
but then it's complicated because we've got a minister as well. We've got a Welsh Secretary for Wales in Labour's Westminster.
Yeah.
So it's all a bit of a mess with devolution, to be honest.
It kind of is a little bit, because now we've got two...
Technically, we've got 3 layers of government.
We've got 2 friends, and one friend has made it very, very clear there's not going to be any more devolution and there's not going to be any more money.
Yeah.
And then we've got the other friend going, we want more money and we want more powers.
Yeah.
So, she's going to have massive conflicts of interest by here because of being in the Lords. And there was the conflict of interest anyway between the Senedd and Westminster. So this is going to get rather interesting rather fast. And I'm not sure how she's going to pull it off. It's going to be very interesting to watch, and I genuinely hope she does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But this is going to be very, very interesting to keep an eye on and see how she balances things.
Definitely.
Technically speaking, Vaughan Gething is still First Minister for about a week and a half.
No, they're on the holidays.
They don't officially change over until the 6th of August, but that's what I was going to say. They are in recess. So, for all intents and purposes, she is the First Minister already. But they're going to come back in on the 6th of August to officially declare her as First Minister, Irranca-Davies as Deputy First Minister, and then they're going to go back on holidays until September.
Yeah,
Move on to the Wicked Seven.
Oh, yeah. They're evil people, they are.
Oh, they're terrible. They're so naughty.
Yeah. You can see Jeremy Corbyn in the background pulling their strings like a puppet master.
That is one thing that I am surprised hasn't actually been said.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 very naughty Labour MPs went against the whip.
Corbyn was behind it. We all know.
Yeah, independent, sitting up there.
Actually, no. McDonald's was the one controlling them, but Corbyn was controlling him. All of him, excuse me.
Puppet masters.
Yep.
No, seriously though.
They should have had 5 then, it could have been the Thunderbirds.
Seriously though, this one it brings into question what Keir Starmer said when he took over on election night. He was there saying it's country before party, and that he had been changing the party. This was a new party that was going. He didn't say it, but he basically heavily insinuated it was going back to the old ways, where when Labour first came up, where it was all about the people, and if the people wanted something that didn't work for the party, then you went with the people. This really nukes that entire sentiment. This is a very dangerous thing that he's done by here, because not only is it an unprecedented response to early rebellion, but it's so close that majority of the UK population will know and remember the fact that he said those at the moment quite infamous words, that it's country before party. Now, these 7 MPs have turned round and gone, based on our constituents, the 2-child cap on means tested benefits, and this is really, really important because this has caused a lot of fear in a lot of people. People started thinking that child benefit was getting capped. Child benefit itself, the actual benefit where you get money every 4 weeks for your children, is uncapped. The plans at the moment...
But with the child benefit compared to what this one is, it's a lot less.
Yeah, it's
a heck of a lot less.
It is. I can't remember the figures off the top of my head, but we've got 2 kids and I think we get about £170 every 4 weeks. It's something like that. But the actual child benefit itself is uncapped. At the moment, there are no plans to ever cap it. No. You could have 1 child or you could have 40 children, and it won't make a difference. You will still get more for the first child, and then you get less for every child after that. Not being changed. The benefits that they're talking about, the cap has been in for at least 10 years now, possibly a little bit more.
Yeah,
I think it came in just as we were having our second child.
Yeah.
And
it's about 10 years ago.
And they're 10, so yeah. That cap applies to things like universal credit and child tax credits.
Yeah.
That's the one where you've got your 2 children. If you have a third, you won't get benefits for.
Yeah.
There are certain workarounds, but they're very, very difficult to prove, and they're very, very difficult to get.
Yeah, they make it intentionally hard so the average person will go, I don't know, I'll just give up.
It's that argument. We don't need to debate that argument. The bit that we want to talk about is the fact that Donald, Apsana Begum, Richard Burgoyne, Ian Byrne, Imran Hussain, Rebecca Long Bailey and Zara Sultana all turned round, went against the whip and said, no, we want to get rid of this cap.
Yeah.
It's a horrible cap, and it's widely criticised by child poverty charities and stuff, so they want to get rid of it. And Labour's response is to remove the whip for 6 months.
Yeah, it was a big slap on the wrist of, no, you be naughty now. Go and think what you've done. Yeah.
And, it really drives home how strong that whip is.
Yeah. Because you've got another 42 that abstained from the vote. That they were just scared of, probably had the gypsy warning of, you're going to lose the whip for a long time.
Yeah. And, that's a big thing, not having the whip.
Yeah.
In Westminster.
Because they're technically classed as independent.
Yeah.
So they could join Corbyn in the Corbyn corner.
Well, yeah. Although, to be fair, Corbyn is sitting as a true independent.
Yeah.
It's not a case of, he's out of the party for a couple of months. He is sitting as a true independent.
But I think they should do that as a Corbyn corner.
It's interesting that it was John McDonnell, just in terms of he was quite close to Corbyn.
Yeah. They were virtually inseparable when Corbyn was leader. Because he wasn't in the Chancellor at the time.
I think he was Shadow Chancellor, at least for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and they were very close together, so, but it shows the problem that Labour still got, that left side of the party is still there.
Yeah.
Regardless of how Starmer wants to show and word the way he does it, it's always going to be there, because some bits of it are good for the working class families.
That's what I was about to say now. Having a left side is not bad. Having a left side is not a dirty thing.
No.
It's
not.
Starmer really needs to start thinking about embracing the left, the right and the centre.
Yeah.
And
taking ideas from all sides and bringing it in the middle to go, right, the right side have got good ideas on this bit, the left side's got good ideas on that bit, and we're going to make these good ideas better and work.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas being so, not against it, but basically going, right, this is how we told you to do it, go and do it. Don't ask questions, don't think.
Yeah.
It's not the right way about it, because underneath all that is constituencies where, say you're in Birmingham, up north, or even in the south, where you've got a family of 3 or 4 kids. 3, 4 kids is a big-ish family, but it's not real big. And there's a lot of families who have come with 3 kids. When you get to the 1s and 2s, it's very, very not rare, but it's on. You've got a lovely small family. So like 3 is about a medium family, then 4+ is you get into the big size, because you have to hire a minibus to travel them around in.
Yeah, exactly. Interestingly, on this as well though, this could have been 8 MPs, because Rosie Duffield, the Canterbury MP, turned round and said that she would have rebelled and voted for the SNP amendment, but couldn't because she tested positive for COVID. So, how many others are there that wanted to rebel and basically bowed to the whip?
Well, we've got a minimum of 42. Then you may have people who are a bit, not weaker, but need that whip to get things done.
Yeah.
But I'm not risking it over an SNP amendment that's not going to go anywhere.
Exactly.
You know?
And, and that's really key by here as to why this is so shocking that they've taken such an extreme thing. We're not talking about an amendment that those 7 made a massive impact on, or even the 42 made a massive impact on. It really isn't. Labour got a majority of 260 on this. 363 votes to 103. Right? That's a massive majority.
Yeah.
Which is to be expected considering the fact that Labour holds such a massive majority in Westminster.
Yeah.
But, if it was a case of there was 50 votes in it and it was really dead set close, fine, fair enough. Well, it's not fair enough. I hate the whole whip thing anyway.
Yeah.
We elect MPs to represent us, not represent the party.
What the, leader of your party says, no, we're doing it this way.
Exactly.
It should be a consensus. Maybe looking into it and seeing cost in it.
But, if it was like 50 votes in it or something relatively small, that sounds like a lot to some people, but that's actually really not a lot. When you're talking about stuff like this, that is tiny. Yeah. That is a minuscule margin. Anything less than 50 would have, even though Labour would have won, it would have been seen as a defeat because of how close the margin was.
All it would take is for someone just to change a couple of people's minds and redo it again.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying 50. If it was 50, as a person, I wouldn't agree with it. But as someone looking at this and analysing this, I'd understand and go, yeah, when you've got that big of a rebellion, you kind of need to stomp it out quickly before it transpires into something else. So from a political standpoint, I can see it. This is so heavy-handed, so early out of the gate, and so unwarranted. With a 260 majority, this is a joke.
They should have just said, if I was Starmer, I would have said, look, you voted with your conscience and I respect that. You're not going to lose a whip or anything. We respect your decision to vote the right way you think.
Yeah. I mean, Nadia Whittome, she'd spoken out in favour of abolishing the cap, but she didn't vote for the amendment in the end. Even she's come out saying government's approach to party discipline has been appalling. No MP should have lost the whip for their vote this evening, especially on a policy that almost everyone in Labour opposes. And she went on saying about if Labour was going to govern from a position of strength, it needs to tolerate disagreement and things like that. And I agree with that. But the fact that Starmer, alright, maybe it's not Starmer that made the decision, maybe it was someone below him, but yeah, maybe it was Chief Whip or whatever that made the decision, but
Starmer's going to carry the can for it.
He's going to carry the can for it, and he had the ability to step in and go, no, we're not doing it like this.
That's too heavy-handed, mate.
Yeah. I mean, my understanding is he may not have had to say yes or no, but he certainly would have been told before anyone else, look, we're removing the whip from these guys.
How long for?
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't ask that question straight after removing the whip.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Stupid.
But interestingly, do you know who the comptroller whip House of Commons is?
No, but I think I've seen him in The Simpsons.
No, seriously. It's our own Chris Elmore.
Cool. Didn't know he was in The Simpsons either. Learning a lot today.
Chris Elmore was not in The Simpsons.
Yeah, but the comptroller's in it. Oh no, comptroller, he takes the thing off because Lisa's going mad. And it's Otto.
Oh dear Lord alive. But yeah, our very own Chris Elmore is the whip. Now, that makes it very interesting in terms of Bridgend, because it's supposed... People have said in Bridgend they voted Labour because that's how they're going to get themselves heard.
Yeah.
They wanted someone up there that was going to have the power to change things and the power to do things.
Well, he's definitely got the power.
Yeah. To remove the whip. I mean, this is absurd. You know, people of Bridgend voted him in literally how many weeks ago?
Well,
3 weeks ago?
Or 3 weeks ago, something like that.
3 weeks ago, and he's already shown party colours. You know, alright, give him benefit of the doubt. Maybe he said something behind the scenes going, this isn't right. But let's be 100% honest, is definitely one of the biggest snafus they could have made so soon after taking power.
I think it's the sign of how they're going to run it.
Yeah.
I think there's a big sign of how it's going to be running down there. Do as what we say, and if you don't, this is the consequence of not doing it.
Which is really concerning in general, because, you know, people have been saying that...
I mean, they've taken the same rule book as Conservatives have done over anything to do with Brexit, anything like that.
Yeah. But it's really concerning because, you know, people in Wales have been saying for years now that Wales is a dictatorship. And, you know, there was a lot of memes and genuine comments that Mark Drakeford was a dictator. And part of Vaughan Gething coming in was supposed to be a bit of a change, and it wasn't supposed to be quite so dictatorshipy.
I mean, over COVID, over in England, you could go into a supermarket and buy whatever you wanted.
You couldn't do that here at one point.
No. Anything homeless related was locked off.
There was actually quite a big thing locally. I was surprised that it didn't turn into a massive story, because it was flooding some of our town hubs at one point, where someone had gone into a supermarket. I won't name which one, just because anyone that knows us personally knows exactly why I'm not saying the name of the supermarket. But someone went into the supermarket to buy bedding because they had an elderly member of the family that lived in the house with them, and they'd soiled the duvet and things to the point that it couldn't be recovered. They needed new ones.
Yeah.
And they got told, no, we can't legally sell it because it's not an essential item. Give us proof that it's an essential item and that you have to change it, and by all means we'll do it. So obviously there's not a lot of proof you can give other than bring in the duvet that is soiled with human waste. Yep. I'm not going to go into the graphic details, but it was more than one. And they brought it to the customer service desk, to the person that said need to have the evidence, and the person there didn't react very professionally. And considering they were the one that asked for the proof, they really should have used a little bit more empathy and common sense. But yeah, you know, it got to that extreme. You know, you had some supermarket workers that just basically went, you know what, not paid enough to police people like this. You do realise if you go and use self-scan, as long as you don't do anything that flags an ID check.
Scan and go, basically.
Self-scan, scan and go, yeah, whatever the supermarket wants to call it. As long as you don't, like, buy alcohol or something that's going to have an ID check, no member of staff is going to know that you've bought this non-essential item, so just go and get it. You know, we went through quite awkward times with them, and as a result, they got the moniker that they were dictatorship.
You know, it was like changing all the roads down to 20, you know, it carried on as well.
I'm not a fan of it because I think it's been very badly implemented in a lot of places. It was in Labour's manifesto.
People voted for it, actually did it.
If you voted for their manifesto, then you can't then turn around and complain when they go and fulfill their manifesto. It doesn't work both ways, guys.
Yeah, this is the problem with manifestos. Is the same thing as terms and conditions. Virtually no one reads them.
Yeah.
Then you get miffed when someone does something or tells you no.
Yeah.
And it's in the terms and conditions.
If you're going to vote for someone, read their manifesto.
Yeah.
Simple as.
And always read the terms and conditions so you don't get screwed over as well.
There's actually a really funny thing about terms and conditions. This is very old. This is pre-COVID. But up a social experiment where they set up public Wi-Fi and people had to read the terms and conditions to go and use the Wi-Fi, and they purposely put things in the terms and conditions like you must give your firstborn child to the owner of this Wi-Fi network, your second-born child must be named by the owner of this network. If you already have 2 children, then you must change their name and a deed poll within 28 days of connecting to this Wi-Fi. You're giving the owner of this Wi-Fi network complete access to your bank account to take as much money as they want.
Wasn't there power of attorney as well or something like that?
I'm not sure if it was the same one, but yeah, there's definitely been like a social experiment of Wi-Fi and power of attorney. I'm not sure if it was the same one or not, because I remember that one, reading it, going, oh my god, this is just a troll. I must be reading The Onion without realising.
Yeah.
And then I went, no, it is actually real. And it was all basically really dodgy stuff around money in the bank and their children and things. And he basically turned around after the fact to the people involved going, so you signed these terms and conditions and used the Wi-Fi. Did you actually read them? No. You do realise that your firstborn child now belongs to me and I get to name your second-born child and all this stuff. And they were like, oh my god, no, what? I can guarantee you, those people still didn't go and read any terms and conditions.
Afterwards either.
Yeah. I'm not brilliant at it, but I'll at least skim read it for, like, quick, is there anything stand out dodgy?
Yeah.
But, yeah. Manifestos are exactly like that, you're right. You know, by putting your cross in that box next to them, you are telling them, yes, I agree to your terms and conditions, I agree to your manifesto, go do what you want.
No, it was the same thing, and yeah.
This is the big problem, though, is we've got the dictatorship in Wales, as everyone keeps saying, and now Labour Westminster certainly looking like they're going to be going the exact same way.
Good thing with Westminster, if they go too far, you're going to have a massive bounce back the next election. True. Because it's a lot in Wales where set up for Labour usually wins, because everyone who votes Labour is where most of the seats are. Yeah, they've got more seats in their stronghold areas and they've got less seats in places that they're weaker. Yeah. And now they're going to be going up to 90 odd seats. 96 seats. And party. Just party, no candidate. Yeah, so you literally pick the party and then they decide who's going to sit in that seat. So good luck, everyone. Yeah, this is going to be interesting, isn't it? Let's go to the other side of Westminster, where they're a bit, let's just say they're a bit sort of losery, as we're going to now show a video of a certain minister getting a bit irate and get told off by the Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons. Let's go and have a look.
500 more mental health professionals and a hub in every rural community to tackle loneliness and the mental health crisis. Order! Steve,
the Right Honourable Lady has behaved abominably.
Okay, so that video was what Deputy Speaker Christopher Chope described as the abominable behaviour of Victoria Atkins on the 19th of July.
Shame it's not Christmas, she could have been the snowman for the pantomime.
Yeah, exactly. So, Shadow Health Secretary Victoria Atkins, she has now been reprimanded for this, but she just walks up to the dispatch box and started interrupting and shouting over the top of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Minister Steve Reid. The argument that her office has come back with is that basically Conservative MPs were trying to get answers about their budgets for farming, flood defences, food security, which Reid just totally ignored. He declined any interventions from quite a few members of Parliament, actually. There was Steve Barclay, the Shadow DEFRA secretary. There was Victoria Atkins. There was a couple of others as well. Basically all Tories that were calling for interventions to basically question them, and he basically said no. Which he's perfectly entitled to do, to be clear.
And it's not he's doing anything wrong or just being an absolute ass and just going sod it, no, listen, nothing like that.
No, exactly. I mean, yes, in terms of reasonable debate and holding the government to account, there is a fair argument that you should be allowing interventions, or at least one intervention, but he's well within his rights to not do that, and Tories don't seem to be taking the fact that they don't get to speak as much as Labour very well, do they?
No, I mean, to be fair, they are in a bit of a sorry state with how many people they've lost. It's like reading earlier that, you know, it works out 4 in 10 of them are now on the front bench.
Yeah, that's a really high number.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's a very, very high number of front benchers to the rest of the
And
party.
to be fair, they're going to run out of people quickly if they just do the chop and change like they were in government. It's going to be not many people. Everyone can have a turn.
That's crazy high.
I mean, if a couple of them lose the whip like Labour's just done, they could go even higher.
Yeah, it really could.
You know, quite quickly.
You know, I mean, we all knew anyway after the election the Tory presence in Westminster was severely reduced.
Yeah.
You know, but I think a couple of MPs on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, sort of put it right. Lib Dem Helen Morgan said it the best, I think. She said, "I witnessed this firsthand. The Conservatives proved the electorate got it right. They're not fit for government." You know, if you're going to stand at the dispatch box and shout when you're not even supposed to be at the dispatch box, then...
You know, after 14 years in government, I think they should know how it works by now.
Exactly. And worryingly, she's pegged as one of the front runners to be the next Tory leader. And yeah, I know her office are basically saying that she will always stand up fearlessly for farmers in our rural area in Westminster, even if that means a rare admonishment from the chair. But I'm sorry, it does not look professional. I stopped watching a lot of the Westminster stuff live years ago because it did my head in. They are like children. Prime Minister's questions is a fantastic example where they're all shouting over the top of each other, they're all jeering at each other, and it's...
I mean, we haven't put it in this week's one, but Farage made his first speech, and that was a car crash.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah.
I missed Farage making his first speech.
Labour went back to being 2-year-olds and shouted all over him, and same old, and that's why we don't watch it, because it just turns into stupid stuff.
I'd much rather just basically read the cliff notes after or something. If it's something that I really seriously care about and want to talk about, then I might put up with watching the video of that back. But yeah, and it just goes to prove though why so many people are just so
nonplussed with it.
They just don't care about politics, because this is one of the, or it's supposed to be one of the biggest and best examples of democracy in the modern world, is supposed to be the UK Parliament. You know, so many other nations try and follow the way that our parliament works. And I'm sorry, it's an embarrassment.
It's not as bad as other countries. I mean, to be fair.
No, but at the same time, it
checked,
shouldn't be a race to the bottom.
No, last time I checked, there's no one that's gone and chucked chairs around, but, you know, because they're bolted in over here, so they can't.
I was about to say, they're bolted down benches. They physically can't. Otherwise, I wouldn't put it past some of them. Definitely some former MPs.
Definitely.
But, you know, it shouldn't be a race to the bottom, and it does really feel like our parliament is a race to the bottom with their behaviour.
I don't know who said it, but someone said the best thing I heard about the parliament is pantomime.
Yeah, it is. It's a pantomime, and it shouldn't be. At the end of the day, democracy is extremely important.
And they talk about serious issues. It's not like it's, someone hasn't cut a tree down, should we fine them or not? You know, it's...
This is literally...
This affects everyone in the UK, and they treat it like it's their little house, and if they don't like it, they're going to try and throw the toys out of the basket.
And it's ridiculous. It shouldn't be working like that. That shouldn't be the way that we're thinking about it. And
that's why no one takes it... That's why you've got the whole thing. No one watches BBC Parliament.
Well, hardly anyone watches BBC Parliament.
I think you got one person just keeps it on mute. You know, with something like that. And probably most people don't even know that channel exists in the modern day.
Yeah.
And that was streaming services, no one cared.
No,
you know?
Exactly.
And this is where it should be a serious debate, and it should be taken seriously, not... I don't like you because I haven't said something. I want my time to speak, goddammit. You know, it shouldn't be that. It should be, you know, I mean, with rural affairs is a big, big thing. But they've only been in office for 3 weeks, so trying to work out everything, what they're spending, what they're not spending, how the things are done, how everything interacts with all the stuff with the EU and all the new measures coming in with that.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just going, I'm not ready to answer your questions because I still haven't got the full picture of knowing what's going on, what...
Exactly.
You know?
One thing I want to say, though, because, you know, we've said, her office has said that it's all about farming, flood defences, food security and stuff like that, right? This was on the back of a 3-hour debate, and Steve Reid had 8 minutes to respond to all the points made during the full 3-hour debate. Okay? So, the fact that he only had 8 minutes to do this reinforces that he was well within his right to be saying no to interventions and things. But the bit that really threw me when I was reading about it, so I've gone and double checked, he was talking, as she's interrupted him, he was talking about 500 mental health staff coming in. So he's talking about the NHS. You know, so her and her office's argument of, trying to get answers about budgets for farming, etc., isn't really relevant when he's in the middle of talking about the NHS.
Yeah.
You've got to keep debates and responses on
topic.
On topic. You know, we've had situations down in our councils and things where, you know, yes, you really want to talk about one thing and get some answers on this one thing that kind of sort of folds in.
You shoehorn in because you've said like one word about it, then it's like, oh, I know this and I want to get some more answers on that little bit, and you just said, someone said it, it's not as more of a passing comment.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so it's a case of, we've been there, and you have to restrain yourself and allow proper democratic work to happen, you know.
And keep it on topic, because if you go a bit off topic, and especially with, like I said, this BBC Parliament, so it was recorded and publicised straight away.
Yeah, exactly.
You make a mistake big in there, like saying something you shouldn't, or have no policy but just make one up on the top of your head. That's, you know, that's a front page news.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you have to keep it within what's being discussed.
Yeah. And these are things where the Conservatives are now going to learn that they can't dictate the flow of the conversation.
Yeah.
They now ask questions and you may or may not get response, like Labour had to do for the last 14 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they're in such a different position, and most of them don't know any different. And they've got to learn, and then coming up with, oh, we're fighting for farmers and all this. Yes, go for it.
But do it at the right time.
Do it at the right time, right place.
And do it in the right way as well.
You know, don't get so miffed that you have to go on a shouting match, because A, you look stupid, B, you're not really fighting when you get kicked out, so who are they going to be fighting for?
And to be clear, she wasn't kicked out, she was just admonished.
But
still, she could have been kicked out.
Yeah. If she lost the whip and she's an independent in Corbyn Corner.
Exactly. Yeah. And the daftest bit of all, that she really should have known, her microphone wasn't even turned on.
Yeah.
You know, so no one heard what she said.
Yeah.
I've gone looking for a couple of the video clips, and I shared the clearest video clip with Dan, and you can't hear words she's saying. So she's done nothing anyway.
Yeah, you know, it's just a pointless exercise of making yourself look stupid.
Yeah, look stupid, look childish, and you've done nothing for your party other than prove the electorate right that you shouldn't have been up there.
Yeah, you know.
14 years clearly has just made them very cocky.
Yeah. And
they should really be a lot more humble at the moment, all things considered. You know, a strong opposition party is definitely needed.
Yeah.
And a strong opposition party that holds the government to account is definitely a good thing. But not like this.
No.
This isn't strong. This isn't holding
anyone to account.
Yeah.
You know, it's just showing you lot being miffed that you're on the other side of dial.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the jealousy looking of that's where we should be.
Exactly.
And they've got to wake up to realise for the next 5 years that's where they're sitting. And if they do a good job of it, they'll be on that side in 5 years' time. That's the way they should be moving forward with it, not this. You're not listening to me.
Yeah. The childish stuff's not going to get anyone anywhere.
No, there's not. But I think that wraps it all up.
Fun for tuning in. So, podcasts are launching Fridays. I'm aiming for 5 a.m. I've managed it once.
Which time zone?
5 a.m. British summertime, and then when we go back to GMT, it'll be 5 a.m. GMT.
I mean, you can say another time zone so you have more time. It's definitely 5 a.m. somewhere.
Yeah, true. I'm aiming for 5 a.m. on Spotify and things. I am going to be looking at removing the YouTube podcast and putting that to a separate page, just because it's causing a lot of problems and confusion.
But that's the problem with YouTube and putting music and video into one bloody thing. It doesn't work. They should separate it out properly. Yeah,
they really should. But yeah, if we want our podcast on YouTube Music, then it's got to come through a YouTube page, which means that it's duplicating all the videos. Yeah. So I'm going to be looking at removing it, setting up a podcast only channel where the actual podcasts will go up on. Yeah. And then you'll still have this over here, so that you can make a decision which one you want to watch or listen to.
Well, you can watch with your eyes closed on either, then you have the same experience.
Well, yeah, true. Very true.
So then for full list of all our channels, we've got a link space set up down there, so have a look. Any other channels you want, knock yourself out, we'll see if we can do it. I'm definitely not doing a TV channel, and I'm not going to send audio CDs or DVDs out. Those two are no's. You can also join us on Discord, and obviously the commenting wherever you can put comments on. YouTube. I don't think Spotify does it.
Spotify is certainly introducing comments, because I've had an update saying that I can interact with people in the comments section. So if it's not on your Spotify yet, looks like it might be coming.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm constantly in our Discord. I'm there practically 24/7. Normally playing a game, so you know, even if you want to just jump in and play a game, that's fine as well. But yeah, we're always available in our Discord, Facebook, Instagram. Send us messages, as Dan said, in any of the comments on any of our videos. We've had a couple of comments that we've looked at, but yeah, we love seeing all your comments and feedback, especially considering all the changes that we're making.
Yeah, you know.
We're hoping we're going to have some news for Twitch guys very, very soon.
Yeah.
We've got a plan. We're just finalising the plan. So Twitch, you're going to be seeing a lot of love from us very soon as well.
It's definitely not Blackadder either.
Yeah, not Blackadder. But yeah, Twitch, you're going to be seeing a lot of love from us soon, because we miss you guys. So
I haven't met you yet, so I don't miss you.
Well, I miss you guys. I miss all the interaction you guys give us. So, yes, get in touch. Let us know what you think of everything. Give us any feedback, any stories you want us to cover, any stories you want us to jump into, looking into properly. We've over the next few months, we're going to be doing housing, farming, and the Arbed scandal, just to name a few. We've got a few others we've got planned as well.
Got a couple in the pipeline. Got some ideas on it.
Yeah.
About transport as well, because that's a key one.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, anything that you want us looking into, give us a shout. Happy to look into it. And of course, if there's something you want to come chat to us about as well, more than welcome.
Always welcome.
Drop us a message and we'll look at getting you booked in.
Yep.
But thank you very much all. Have a fantastic weekend.
And we will see you all soon next week for my camera to go zooming in and out.
Yeah, it's been fine all the way through, and now all of a sudden it's having a focusing issue.
There we are. Look where I go. Woo. Catch you all later, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.